Wisdom. It's an incredibly valuable asset. Some would say more precious than gold. It's attractive, appealing, admirable. Conversely, a lack of wisdom is the basis of immaturity, blind spots, and bad decisions. Wisdom. It can be gained over time, but it can't be rushed. But wisdom can be shared. That's precisely what we are here to do right now. Today, we are here to hack wisdom, to distill it, to understand it, and to process it. Why? To get better at life. Welcome to the main thing. This is your new Wisdom Podcast. I'm your host, Skip Linneberg, and I've set out to interview the wisest people I know. We'll see what we can learn from each one when they're faced with an incredibly difficult, soul-piercing question. Welcome to your Wisdom Podcast. If you're new, I'm Skip Linneberg, and I'll be your host today. If you are a subscriber or returning listener, welcome back to this cozy learning space where we gather twice a month to hear from one of the wisest people around. As we study their wisdom and learn together, we get a little better at life. Today's guest is a bold, unbridled, creative professional who seems to know no boundaries, but this wasn't always the case for her. In just a few moments, you'll find out how Pia Leichter was able to push past self-limitations and break through creative boundaries. But first, I want to give a shout out of gratitude to our newest patron, Allison from West Virginia. Patrons like Allison help underwrite our monthly production costs. Allison, thank you for believing in our mission and what we're doing here. Because of your generous support, we're able to keep this pipeline of wisdom flowing. In this powerful, inspiring episode today, you will learn how to become more comfortable with uncertainty, how to embrace your sovereignty, how to take complete ownership of your innate creativity, and of course, you will hear the main thing Pia has learned in her lifetime. Now, here's a bit more about our wise guest. Pia Leichter is a creative partner, published author, certified coach, and entrepreneur. Her path has been anything but ordinary. A recovering nomad, she's reported as a journalist in Sri Lanka, graduated summa cum laude from NYU, and worked as an award-winning creative director for some of the biggest brands in the world. Now, as the founder of Collective Studio, she's uniquely positioned to co-create ventures and wild visions. Pia recently published a book titled Welcome to the Creative Club. Her book is part memoir and part guidebook, and it will challenge everything you thought you knew about creativity. Pia joins us from her home in Copenhagen, Denmark. Settle in and get ready. Over the next 30 minutes, you will discover why Pia Leichter is one of the wisest people I know. Pia Leichter, welcome to the Main Thing Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Skip. So happy to be here.
Pia, you are coming to us from Denmark, from Copenhagen, but you were born in Canada and raised in New York. How did you get to Denmark? I bet there's a story there.
There's a long and winding road. It was definitely not a direct flight. I call myself a recovering nomad because I have been moving around since I was a kid, and that pattern continued in adulthood because it was what I knew. So
Okay.
So to give you the short version of the story, I graduated from NYU, then decided to produce an economic documentary in Bahrain for 8 months, met my ex-husband who's French, and so we moved to France. Then for about a little under a year, then we both moved to London together and lived there for 4 years. And then I got headhunted for a creative role in Copenhagen. And I thought, Scandinavia, why not? I didn't even know Copenhagen necessarily. I just heard good things. And then they flew me over, and it was a beautiful place with, your usual postcard picturesque buildings, blue pastel colors and red and blue and canals, and it was gorgeous. And I thought, okay, let's check this place out for a while. I never thought it would become home. I didn't know it was where I would drop anchor, but lo and behold, it did. It's a good place. It's a good place to grow roots. So that was the journey, the short version of the journey to here.
Well, thank you. I love it. And in a couple days, you're off to Bali
Can't wait
for a birthday celebration.
for my big birthday celebration. It's going to
Wow.
be great. For my birthdays, I like to travel to go somewhere. Sometimes it doesn't have to be far, but just someplace new, someplace I haven't been before. And that way it allows me to remember each birthday easier. It's like, oh, that was the year I went here and that was the
Yeah.
year. It's kind of like these markers. And I also think it's wonderful to try things for the first time again. And
Oh,
as we get
absolutely.
older, sometimes it feels like those first times diminish. So I like to be very intentional about having new first times.
What a wonderful
So
tradition.
yeah, it's become a tradition. So
Will this be
Bali's the
first
first time I want to
time to
learn how to
Bali?
surf.
First time to Bali?
First time to Bali.
Okay.
First time to learn how to surf. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, that's
Not to be
exciting.
a
I can't.
professional or anything, but just to get on a board and do something new I haven't done before.
Absolutely. I can't wait to hear all about it when you get back.
Can't wait to tell you.
We're going to talk a lot about creativity today. We're going to talk about your book. We're going to talk about your work. But I wonder, when did you first consider yourself to be a creative person? Do you have an early memory or perhaps a story that encapsulates that moment?
Well, it's interesting because growing up with, and my dad's an artist, he's an abstract painter. So creativity never felt something sort of outside of myself or something to be attained. It just felt like a part of life because I grew up, my father painting, smell of paint, and he would have his paint splattered jeans, and Stevie Wonder would be playing in the background, and I would be writing, different stories as a kid on the floor, and even, 6, 7, 8. And it just felt like a part of life. It didn't feel like I am being creative. It just felt like this is what we do. We make stuff. We have fun. And so I don't know if I ever considered myself to be creative. It was just what we did.
Every day, at some point in the day, I wash dishes and I load the dishwasher. It's something I do. It's not who I am. So I'm not a cleaner, just like I'm not a creative. I do both. I clean, I create, I do yard work, I cook, but none of those are wholly who I am. And so for me, that maybe sort of approaches what you're saying about creativity.
Yes. Well, then who are you, Skip? That's the
That's
question
my purpose.
came
That's
up.
my purpose. And
Okay.
yeah, so my purpose, and I've talked about this a few times on the show, my audience will not be surprised to hear me say that I'm a teacher. You can call that synonymous with coach, guide, but in all aspects of my life, as I look back on when I've had the most impact, when I've felt the most fulfilled, when I've been the most excited and energized, is when I'm teaching.
See, for me, you're touching on something interesting, also how I view creativity.
Tell
Teaching
me
is
about it.
not just something you do. It's a way of being in the world. And creativity for me is just that.
Yeah.
Creativity is not just something you do. It's a way of being in the world. And
Right
so
on.
it goes beyond the doing. So it just felt powerful. I actually feel the same way about coaching. It's not that you suddenly stop coaching a client. Like, you take these principles and ways of interacting and holding space and being in the world with you as you move through it. It's not something you turn off and on. And I think that becomes an integral part of how you move and operate in the world. And I think that's really powerful.
Yeah. Well, back to your book. There's a phrase in the book, a sentence or two, that I thought really set this for me, this framework about understanding creativity. And you said in the book, you wrote that being open to and having the courage to try new things, that's the entry price for creativity. I'd never heard it said so well.
Thank you.
Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Sure, but being able to do new things means that we have to build our capacity to be in the uncertain unknown.
Yeah.
That is the price you pay. I mean, there's nothing, you cannot be creative if you already know the outcome before you
Wow.
begin.
Okay.
If you think about it, if I had to
Okay.
make a bold statement, like,
Yeah.
you don't know exactly what it will be yet. You might have an idea, you might have an intention,
Yeah.
but we go in with a certain openness, a certain humility and playfulness and of experimentation. Like, I don't know, let's see, let me roll up my sleeves and find out. And the process or the creation appears as you make it. And I think there's something really exciting about that. It requires courage. What requires courage to say, I don't know. Let's find out.
Yeah.
But that's also thrilling. It's
It is.
where possibilities live, because anything is possible because you don't know. When you know, it's very fixed.
The first time some folks tread into that space, they can feel a little off balance. It can feel a little scary.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's where the courage part comes in.
Absolutely. But it's also thrilling.
You're going to experience that when you put both feet on that surfboard and try to stand up.
Totally. I won't know what it's going to be. I'll have no idea. Am I going to fall? Am I going to ride? Am I going to make it? But I do it because I get to also create that experience. See, creativity goes beyond just, what I make or write or produce, but it's the experiences that I get to create in my life. And that's one of them. I'm creatively directing that.
And you're willing to pay that entry price.
Because I know what's on the other side.
Yeah. Pia, right now, listeners out there, there's someone saying, I don't have a creative bone in my body and I don't know what these people are talking about. Why might that be a misconception, or what might they be missing or overlooking to feel that way?
Well, I think a lot of us culturally conflate creativity for artistic expression.
Ooh.
So artistic expression is one very powerful form of creativity, but it's just one.
Mm-hmm.
Creativity.
Let's pause there for a minute and dive in a little deeper. I want to click one click deeper. Artistic expression would be like being a painter like your father, or playing guitar, singing,
Dancing,
writing.
the arts, what we view as the art world.
So artistic expression, which we just characterized, conflated with creativity. So take us the rest of the way, unpacking that and diving into that misconception.
Sure, but creativity is in every domain. Science and law can be very creative. Like everything that in every domain, creativity exists. I mean, creativity is a novel, useful, sometimes delightful way of solving everyday challenges. It's very creative.
Yeah.
We are natural born creatives. It's in our biology. It's how our brain functions as human beings. It's what enabled our survival. It is a part of who we are. And what stops us from being creative is that thought, well, I don't have a creative bone in my body. And I would argue that, yes, you do. Yes, you do. All your bones, they're creative.
And if they want to understand more and learn more and go deeper, they can check out your book.
Definitely. I wrote the book to smash the myth that creativity is reserved for the chosen few, so that people can access and apply their innate creativity to the design of their lives.
Another phrase that you shared with me, this phrase, to move with trust instead of fear. And I thought that was also so powerful. I wrote it in my journal. I think it's worthy of a t-shirt. Where did that come from? And how does that shape how you live?
Well, I realized at some point in my life, not that long ago, that I had been moving with fear. Maybe not consciously, but, for many different reasons, whether it was inherited scripts about scarcity and what might happen, whether it's the way I grew up in New York City in the 80s. It was
the mean streets.
It was a fearful place. I'm sure without getting into uncovering that completely, I have looked into where that originates. But unbeknownst to me, I've been moving with the low refrigerator hum of fear. And when I became aware of that fear, I was able to make a different choice.
Yeah.
And I make that choice every day. It's a practice. It's not a destination. It's not like, now I am done with fear. I'm going to move with trust. Like I
have conquered fear once and for all.
No, because fear is also, look, emotions are data. Fear provides us with information. When fear comes up, it's telling us something. It's giving us an insight, an indication.
Yeah.
And fear could be telling us a lot of different things, right? There might be a bear charging at us. Probably not, but it's possible. There might be danger on the horizon, real danger, but there could also be perceived danger. That's a perceived threat, maybe not actual. And fear is also a sign that we're on the precipice of change, of something big.
Yeah.
We're about to leap into something unknown, and it could be extremely thrilling and fulfilling, that next creative venture. It could be anything. We're on the cusp of big change.
That's a powerful idea.
And fear gets really loud when we're standing on that precipice. Scary if I had to give an example of what I mean. Like I stayed, it was still satisfying. I worked as a creative director in a purpose-driven creative consultancy, but I stayed longer than its due by date because I was afraid. I didn't know what was on the other side. I didn't know what my business would look like, and I was comfortable. I didn't know where my next salary would come from if I did jump. And so I made a decision. My mom passed away suddenly in 2021, and she gave me a shot of courage that helped me leave that job. Not because it was anything wrong with it, but because I was so damn curious about what would happen if I channeled my creativity into building my own business.
Wow.
And I got one life.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to see what that would be like. I wanted to dip into that potential, and that required courage. That required me letting go of the fear, or at least saying, all right, come on in, but backseat it is, to take that jump. And faith.
Yeah.
Right? And so then from there on in, and I didn't die. I'm here. I'm okay. My business is good, and we have ups and downs, and that's how it goes. But I just want to move with trust. I want to move with like, I trust life, I trust myself, and I trust the unfolding, even when things don't make sense to me right away, even when I don't know exactly what it will be, because life is just so much more thrilling that way. I feel connected and I feel free when I touch that space of trust. It's how I want to move. And, fear will come back. It does, because I'm used to moving with it, right? Like, oh, watch out, what you doing? Be careful. When is that going to happen? But the more that I build my capacity to be in this uncertainty and to move with trust, it does get easier. Not easy, but easier.
Yeah. You mentioned your mom. Pia, let's talk about your mother. I know from the book and from our prior conversation, she was a big inspiration in your life. You dedicated your book to her. Tell us a bit more about your mom and her life and how she inspired you.
My mom, I love her so much. She's passed, but she's with me every day in so many ways. But we didn't always have the easiest of relationships either.
Okay.
I'm sure she would attest to that.
Do tell.
But, well, my parents divorced when got separated when I was 3. And being a single mom in New York City, we're in Brooklyn at the time, with a daughter with a very big personality. She said when I was 4, when we moved into our own place, just me and her, away from my dad, apparently she loved this story, so that was hilarious. I put my hands on my hips and I said, from here on in, it's going to be 50-50. And I didn't even know. I was 4. She's like, you didn't even know what 50-50 meant. And you're telling me it's going to be 50-50. So she raised me to be fiercely independent. We moved a lot throughout my life with her. We moved every couple of years, sometimes every year. And so that gave me the gift of adaptability and being able to connect with a lot of different people very quickly and deeply across different cultures and being in different environments. So that gave me freedom in many ways.
For sure.
Though it did get cantankerous as I moved into adolescence. It's hard to uproot because your body is changing. Everything is changing. So when your environment starts to change, it gets a bit harder. That just
compounds things.
It does. So I think that was more challenging. But my mom is a wild child, woman of the hippie, self-professed hippie, very, very proud. Woodstock, left on a motorcycle from a small town in Quebec for New York City when she was 17.
Oh my gosh.
So,
that's awesome.
She's had a wild, very free life where she's fiercely independent and curious and definitely rebellious. And she gave a lot of that to me, and I was forged in her fire, so she's been a big influence in my life. Even though I left home when I was quite young, when I was 17, because of said differences, we found our way back to each other.
She left for New York when she was 17. You moved out when you were 17.
Oh my God, so true. So true.
Yeah. I from what I've gathered from your book, I have this, this impression of your mom and this image that you got boldness from her.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a strength. That's a big propelling force, a big tailwind.
I think she wanted me to be independent and strong and bold And so she very much encouraged those qualities within me, sometimes a little on the extreme side every once in a while. But hey, it did work, and it made me who
Yeah.
I am. And for that, I'm forever grateful. I think our parents are our parents for a reason, with all the ups and downs.
For sure. Let's go ahead and talk about how we're connected. Do you want to start? And I'll just jump in. We'll kind of bat this back and forth.
Sure. Well, the main thing became my main squeeze. No, sorry, I had to say that. The main thing, but it just drew me in because the word wisdom resonates deeply with me, because everyone has knowledge.
Yeah.
Everyone knows something, right?
Yeah.
But to be able to
Increasingly so.
yes.
Increasingly so. Yes.
But to be able to apply what we know to our lives, to how we live, is wisdom to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's beautiful and challenging to apply what we know, because I think we are aware of a lot, but then how do you use it? How do you apply it? How do you make it real in your world?
I keep these charter documents on my wall right above my screen. And yeah, so I have here, and I'll show it to you. And just a little Post-it note, it's been up there for 5 years on that spot. It says knowledge, facts, information, theories, stories, horizontal line, different color ink, down below wisdom. Which bit of information is more relevant, and when to apply that information for the right effect, for the right impact.
Absolutely.
That's the contrast there. And that's what we hope that we impart to our audience and our community with the main thing. As far as how we're connected, Pia, also we're both former creative directors. I was a chief creative officer for a better part of a decade with our marketing firm, Maple Creative. You as well with your consultancy. So we have that in common.
Yeah, we do.
And I want to brag on you for a minute. Whatever's going on in the universe, whatever the good Lord is sending our way, a lot increasingly cold email pitches from folks who I'm not connected with yet, folks who are unfamiliar to me. And sometimes most of them come through very canned. I can tell they haven't listened to the show. They have a book to sell or something to promote, and they want our audience, they want our platform to promote that. Sometimes that's a fit, sometimes it's not. Full stop, compared to these lovely emails from Pia Leichter. And it's very personal and real and genuine, and I can tell that you've listened, and it was playful, invitation, and compelling. Let's create something powerfully creative together. It was an invitation to collaborate. Pardon me, but it took me 3 times from a wonderful introductory message and 2 follow-ups from you before I had the kind of the space to reply and say yes, and let's do this.
And I'm so glad you did, because someone who imparts wisdom has, in my opinion, has to embody certain qualities or values. And one of those values is curiosity, and the other one is openness.
Yeah.
And you embody those beautifully.
Thank you.
Even on the calls we had before this session.
Thank you.
There was an openness and a curiosity that led to connection and to a feeling of trust. And that just opens the doors to all different types of conversations and possibilities within it, because we kind of co-create that safe space for courageous exploration together. And so you're living it. You're living the wisdom and embodying the values that I feel the wise have.
Thank you. And I'll just add to that our listeners can tell, and some of my most loyal listeners will regularly give me feedback. They'll text me or call me and say, "Hey, listen to the last show," and they can tell, like it's a very bland, not flavorful stew when I don't really know the guest, and there's not that connection, there's not that trust, there's not that authenticity, curiosity, openness, all the things that you just described. They can tell. It doesn't transmit. You can't fake it.
That's true.
And so that, to me, is my standard of my duty as the host of the show, and as someone who is trying to gather wisdom from folks like you and to share it with the world, how best to do that.
And I'm so glad you're doing that.
Hey, let's talk next about your work.
Sure.
So I know what you had been doing with your creative consultancy, and I know about your book, but also I don't know a lot. I want to know more about your work as a creative guide and as a resource to folks who are creative professionals or want to become more creative. Tell us about that part of your life, your work.
Sure. From one creative director to another, I'll give you my copy line.
Okay, here, I'm ready.
I creatively partner with visionary rebels, unconventional dreamers, and inspired misfits to bring their wild visions and ventures into the world to create an impact.
Ooh, would you give me the list of characters again? That's so, I love that language.
Sure. Visionary rebels, unconventional dreamers, and inspired misfits
Okay.
to bring their wild visions and ventures into the world to make an impact. And if I had to put,
what does that look like in practice?
I was going to say, if I had to put that very simply, I help people create, people who do things differently to make a difference. Those were those three qualifiers. That's what that was.
Without breaching any confidences or revealing any identities, give me two clients you're working with recently, what they're up to and how you're helping them.
So I shared what united, the characteristics that unite the people that I work with.
Yeah.
But usually they're also at a similar point in time, right? A similar point on their journeys.
Oh.
And that's what I call sticky junctures. Okay. So they're at a point where what they used to do, I was there, as I shared earlier, where what used to work or what they used to bring fulfillment or what used to be successful for them, something else is calling.
Okay.
Right? There's something bigger, whether it's a pivot, feeling a tug. It could be a pivot, a desire, an expansion, maybe something that you can see or feel, and maybe you just feel it and you can't quite make out the outline yet. And they're looking for a creative midwife, if you will, to help them bring that next project, brand, book, business into the world.
Yeah.
So to get clear on what really matters to me, what does a fulfilling life look like, and how does this business or fill in the blank support that life?
Okay.
So it's bigger there. And we all know we need collaborators. So as a certified coach and someone who has worked with the creativity, whether it's creative direction, creative strategy, copywriting, etc., like those, I have a mixing board. And depending on where people are on their journey, I turn volumes up or down. So, for example, I worked with an author who felt very stuck, very close to being finished with the manuscript, but something was just she was getting in her way, as we usually get in our own way. And so we worked together to explore what is the blockage and what is the bigger purpose also that's calling, and what's really important about this book.
Okay.
And so we were together. I mean, she has...
So you were able to push through that.
To help push through that. And interestingly enough...
And maybe understand it. Like, what is it? Understand it and then push through.
Exactly. So then it's sustainable. She doesn't need me the next time. She's able to recognize what's, the insight about herself and what might have been holding her back, and then move through it. And then I actually also ended up creatively partnering with her afterwards to work on some of the drafts, just to talk about it. And so I think it's so much fun to be able to combine those two things. So another client I worked with was an interior designer who knew she wanted to pivot into being a lifestyle brand.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she's like, but I have no idea how to do that. So she was very clear on her purpose and her vision, but didn't know what that transformation could look like, and needed a creative partner.
And a strategy. To get from here to there.
And the brand foundation, and then high-level concept copywriting. And so that creative volume was turned up higher.
Sure.
And then there are other people I work with who are founders who are really on the cusp of a pivot or something new. And it's at that point where creative partnership is most needed and creates the biggest impact. So what is that thing? And we often work together first to really look at the creator, the human, and then we can co-create the first concept or stage of what it is they want to create, which is really powerful because we've worked together on a coaching level first.
Sure.
So what comes from that is just golden, beautiful, very meaningful work.
That's awesome. That's clear now. Thank you. I get it. Just to kind of sum up on this, is this like, would you say, hey, I'm living my purpose? Is this what you're doing now? Is this your purpose?
100%. My purpose is to unleash creativity to build a better world.
Yeah.
And I would say I'm living it more since I published my book, because now I'm in integrity. because unleashing creativity, build a better world is not just about what I help other people do or other businesses do. I need to help myself do that.
Yeah,
I need
for
to
sure.
unleash creativity within myself beyond commercial creativity, which is lovely and exciting, but also full permission to unleash my creativity just to make stuff, make art.
Pia, if someone wants to learn more about your work or they've heard enough and they want to connect with you, your website, I would imagine, great place to do that.
Collective.studio. Show notes, because it's spelled in a Scandinavian style.
Collective.studio. I'll put it in the show notes. You can click the link and learn a lot more about Pia's work. You can see customer testimonials, case studies, sign up for her newsletter. There's a blog there. Yeah. And a gorgeous website.
Thank you.
Pia Leichter, what's the main thing you've learned in your lifetime so far?
The main thing I've learned is that I'm creatively directing my life.
Ooh, you are creatively directing your life. What a cool concept. I hope that, I think I know what that means, but I'd love to hear you tell me more about it.
Sure. Back to where we started, thinking that I was just working as a creative director in my job. But after a pretty difficult divorce and getting fired from my job, and where life felt like it was completely turned inside out, upside down, 52 pickup with my life on the floor. I could have stayed in Copenhagen fearfully, desperately looking for another job because my visa was going to run out in 6 months. So I would have had to leave the country. So
there's that too, on top of it.
That. Yeah, exactly that. I could have done that. And there was a part of me that was like, no, you have to stay and look. But it was everything. I needed a pause. I needed a beat. Everything was not right, felt not right.
Yeah.
And I needed some time. And I made the decision to go on the Trans-Siberian instead. By myself.
Oh my gosh.
For 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So I went through China,
and that's
Mongolia.
in the book. I've seen bits of that in the book. Yeah.
And I went through China, Mongolia, and Russia, and it was in that moment on the train, hurtling through Siberia, that I stopped and realized and recognized, hey, I creatively directed this moment. I produced this moment. I made, I'm like the protagonist, I'm the director, I'm the writer, I'm the sound engineer, I'm the set designer. I made this moment. I created this moment in my life. I made this happen for myself.
Yeah.
Wow. Having that creative agency.
Yeah.
And that was very profound.
Can I share a thought, a word?
Please.
You were sovereign.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
My best friend and I talk about this fairly often, this notion of sovereignty, that we are directing, there's a higher power. I believe in God. God's the maker of the universe, and he has been very good to me, and he's faithful, and he allows me to be sovereign.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We are, it's creative agency.
Yeah.
We are constantly creating our experience. The question is, are we consciously creating it?
Give me just a second. I'm looking up. Here it is. This is and I'll be happy to send this to you. This is my riff, my little short writing on sovereignty. I am valuable. I know myself. I own my strengths and my weaknesses. I own my voice. I know my why, my purpose. I am valuable, pure and simple. I have the right to be here. I didn't have to earn it. You can't deny me or take this away from me. You may earn my respect, but I simply will not fear you because I am sovereign. And that just became truth to me, discovered probably years ago.
And what was the impact of that discovery?
Freedom, courage, power, clarity of vision. Yeah.
That's it right there.
Yeah. And I had to, just like you're describing, no one injected that into me like an injection. No one said those words to me in my younger formative years, and that's okay. I learned it through failures, challenges, learnings, trial and error, through adversity, through overcoming adversity.
I think that's the way.
And I realized that I was creatively directing my life in a sovereign fashion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't think anyone can really, they can teach you the concept of it, but you have to experiment and experience it yourself to really believe it.
That's it right there, that word, believe it. You can conceptually toy with this idea. You can try it on for size, and then you can pull back from it. But to believe it and to internalize that takes a while.
It
takes some life experience.
Yeah, it takes practice. It takes creating evidence for yourself.
Right. Yeah.
You have to create evidence that I do believe this. See, I'm doing this thing. You see, I do believe I'm creatively directing my life because I'm going to direct my next scene. I'm going to choose, it could be something as small as I'm going to choose what to whip up for dinner, and I'm going to put my favorite playlist on, and I'm going to choose how I see things today.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose to see things that the universe is working for me and with me and through me. I'm going to choose to see it that way instead of the universe is working against me and it's a dog eat dogs world. Like
and there's scarcity and it's a zero-sum game.
Those are just stories. They're inherited. Someone made those up.
Right.
They're not handed down from above.
Right.
And once we realize that, we can, reconnect to our creative power, our creative agency, and rewrite the story. But it's more than just the rewrite. We got to live it.
For sure. Yeah. Yep. So your main thing, I am creatively directing my life. That's awesome. What a great wisdom statement. We've heard about when that crystallized for you on the train.
Exactly.
Which you creatively directed the trip, and you caused yourself to be in that moment on that train in that place. I wonder if you might be able to share with us a recent example, a very recent personal example from your life when you had to lean into that, apply that wisdom to overcome something or to deal with something.
Well, I'll give you it's small, but it was an opportunity to practice that belief, right?
Yeah.
My audiobook launch is coming up in June.
Okay.
And so at the mid-June. And I had this, once again, that low-level hum of anxiety that was percolating within me.
Yeah.
And I do morning pages. I like free writing in the morning. Julia Cameron's The Artist Way. I mean, for me, meeting myself every day, whether in movement or in meditation or in free writing, are very important practices.
Or all of the above.
All of the above every day, actually. Those are my support systems, right?
Yeah,
so
same.
It allows me to become aware of what's happening within me. As if I'm too busy, and I think many of us suffer from the element of busyness, then I can't feel myself in it. I'm just kind of on autopilot. So I have to slow down and then just sit with it. So I was writing in my morning pages, and I was like, feel this anxiety about I got to do it. I got to do this. I got to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, let's name this fear. What's happening here? The fear was saying, this is your last shot to really have something new to talk about with the book. And so you better make this work, sister.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And so when
you had created this villain.
Exactly.
Fear had created this villain that was fictional.
But to name it is the first step in removing its charge.
Yeah.
Name the fear. What is the fear saying? Oh, and then I can see it and go, no, this is not the energy I want to move with for launching my self-narrated audiobook, which was a heap of fun and challenging. And this is an exciting, heart-filled project, and I'm not going to choke it through fear and anxiety.
Yeah,
it will be whatever it is. Yeah, flip that.
Look what I get to do. Look at this blessing and privilege of what I get to do.
And I get to make it fun. I don't have to make it anxiety-ridden because the only one who's doing that is me. That's sovereignty.
Right.
If I'm anxious and I'm creating an anxious experience, I'm the one doing that. Here's the good news. I can also undo that and choose to do something else.
Yeah, and stop doing it.
Exactly. But first, I have to be aware of what's driving me, what's here.
Yeah, and those morning practices you mentioned help you feel, see, observe, discover that.
100%.
So that you can confront it, name it. And
transmute it.
Yes.
Rewrite it. Say, okay, thank you very much for trying to protect me. That's what it's trying to do. Thank you very much.
That's a nice, gentle way to handle that.
Yeah. But we don't need that, because the story that the fear tells me is that, well, this anxiety is what helps you succeed. And it's like, no, that's just you trying to stay alive. Okay. I'm not going to buy that.
Fly.
Yeah. Thank you very much for trying to protect me, but we got this. It's going to be good. Whatever will be, will be. I'm going to let go of the outcome, and I'm going to enjoy it because you know what? I get to create an enjoyable experience. And that was a small example of creatively directing my experience, my life. Hey, wait a minute. No one else is doing this. creating this anxious moment, but me. And that means I get to turn it into something else. But first,
Cool.
awareness.
Yeah.
We cannot change what we're not aware of. It's just not possible.
Great example. Yeah, thank you. Pia, a listener who hasn't yet embraced this wisdom that I am creatively directing my life. What kind of pain points, struggles, fears, what kind of things might they be bumping into? I think I have a sense of it from our conversation, but I'd love you to pinpoint it for us.
Well, sometimes, especially nowadays, it can feel like life is happening to us.
Mm-hmm.
It can feel like things are beyond our control.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just kind of, rolling with the punches.
Right.
And that can feel very disempowering. That can feel like we're not sovereign anymore, that we're
Out
no
of
longer
control.
the creative directors. And so it's just becoming aware of, if you're feeling stuck or blocked, what are some of the stories or ideas that are creating that feeling?
Mm-hmm.
What are the beliefs?
Yeah.
I feel like life is happening to me. All right,
Okay.
well, if you want to rewrite that, what belief would serve you? What belief would put you in the creative director's chair with your name on it?
Let me, so that takes me to the next part of the unpacking your main thing is application. So someone's listened, they're all in, they're like, yes, this is what I need. I want to start applying this main thing, Pia's main thing. I'm going to start applying it tomorrow. How do they do that? How can someone tomorrow begin to live in a way where they are creatively directing their own life?
Well, the first very important question is, what do you really want to create next?
Okay.
And that could
Get clear on that.
That could be an experience. It doesn't have to be a huge, like, oh God, my life in 5 years. No, I mean, it can be if you want it to be, but it can be very much like, let's say you have a meeting you're nervous about.
Sure.
It's like, oh, I have to go to this meeting.
Got to present to the board.
Yeah. So then ask yourself, how would you like to create that experience for yourself? How would you like to experience the meeting? Well, I'd like it to be easy, and I'd like it to be fun, and I'd like to feel confident. Okay, well, what would support you in that?
Mm-hmm.
What mindset, what beliefs, what practices?
Yep.
Sometimes it's going to the gym before you, what would support you in creating that for yourself?
Mm-hmm. On that day, how would you start your day that you would set yourself up to have that great experience, that great outcome?
This is going to sound really morbid, but reminding myself that I'm going to die, that life is finite.
Yeah.
And that this is a limited series makes me take myself and life a lot less seriously. It's just,
you already know the ending.
What matters from the perspective of death, and we all are going to die. We just don't know when.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do I really have to lose? And how serious is this thing? And it gives me levity and it gives me courage. Mm-hmm. So that's a perspective shift that supports me. It's just like, hey, wait a minute. What really matters from the vantage point of my death?
Yeah.
This meeting? No, not much. Like, I can have fun with this. Like, it's not important. It's in the scheme of things, it's not important. That Oscar Wilde quote that I love, life is too important to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
A little bit of play, a little bit of fun, a little
Oscar
bit
Wilde.
of levity,
Yeah.
So that helps me. But my practices are, and meditation has changed my experience in so many ways. I am very much an A-type pole vaulting out of bed kind of person that doesn't need an alarm. And to rewire that, because I don't want to start every day in a rush, like, let's get going. Like, I'm rewiring. It's going to take maybe the rest of my life.
Okay.
I meditate first thing, no matter what.
You're starting off slow, a slow start to the day.
Yes, intentionally.
A slow, gentle.
It changes everything. So that fear voice goes, come on, you got to get going. There's so many things you got to do. And it's like, meditation. Meditate at least for 20 minutes.
I heard
sometimes
you talk about
30.
journaling.
And then I do my journaling.
Yeah.
Then I have a cup of my matcha tea. And then I start the day. And that grounds me. And then throughout the day, I have a movement practice. Got to move my body. That's really, really important. And so you don't need 30 minutes. You can take 10 minutes. Or maybe meditation is not for you. You can take a walk or even get curious about what practices allow you to meet yourself every day. And you just take a moment. If you treated yourself as like a really interesting first date that you were so excited to go on and meet, it's like, how would you romance yourself? Like, how do you meet yourself? How do you take care of yourself? How do you get curious about what you're feeling? what's going on for you, what you want.
Sure.
Such a powerful question. Like,
Those are
how do
great
I-
application steps.
Mm,
And someone doesn't have to do them all. You don't have to start with all of them. Just take
no,
one. Once that starts to become part of your rhythm and feels comfortable and you're feeling the benefit of it, think about adding another one.
totally.
Yeah. And find what's right for you.
Yeah. And then again, just getting really curious about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if
What do I want to do next?
what do I want to do next? And you can keep asking that question over and over again, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, now next, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? What does that say about your values, what you value most in the world? You can start to see a pattern
Yes.
as you see what you're drawn to. And then again, you just run experiments. You get curious, like, okay, well, I think I want to do that next.
Yeah.
You do it. You're the creative director. You get to do it. Do it.
Right on. Yeah.
You know, try it. How does it feel? Try it on. But I think it was good, but it wasn't as good as I thought. It was great. So what's next? And that's how you discover yourself, because we're constantly changing. We are fluid, changeable beings.
We are.
That's our nature. That's the nature of life.
Yeah.
So we don't expect to just find one thing and then be like, that's it forever. No, of course not. We're going to change. We're going to grow and we're going to evolve and things will change. And that's the joy. That's the thrill of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure. For sure. Pia, your main thing, I am creatively directing my life. You creatively directed yourself to write a book.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm calling it a dynamic 1,000-watt book. Welcome to the Creative Club. I am a third of the way through it. You shared a copy with me, which I love. Again, the link to the book will be in the show notes. When I read your book, the writing is like Jack Kerouac or Hemingway in the sense that your writing is so vivid. And as you bring us into a new chapter, you, in such a colorful, vibrant way, create the scene, the surrounding, the mood, the feel. And then you tell me a compelling story, but I'm immersed in that scene. I can see the space. I can feel the vibe. I can hear the music. I can sense the warmth of the sunshine. And then the stories are so entertaining and so vivid with the scene setting. It's just really, really, really enjoyable. It's very entertaining. It's very illustrative. So I'm loving the book and I can't wait to finish it. What inspired you to write this book? And I'll ask you as you continue, I'm just going to let you talk about it, but also touch on who it's for.
Sure. So it's interesting, sometimes in life we get inspired, or we are co-creating with life, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes as well, we're creatively directing our life. Just like you said, we're sovereign.
Yeah.
But yet we're part of something bigger.
Right.
Right. And so I hold the same belief. I just say it in a different way. So
Mm-hmm.
We are creative directing our lives, but we are in constant co-creation with life. So I say this because I've had a book, and I think everyone has a book inside them.
Yeah.
Everybody. Will everyone write that book? That I don't know. But everyone has a book in them. So I had a book in me. And what happened was I got the founder of the hybrid publisher I worked with reached out to me on Twitter.
Okay.
Also a great salesman.
Cool.
And he said,
Yeah.
have you ever thought of writing a book? And I thought, well, yeah, I have. And he said, but I have no idea what it would be about. And then he said, well, let's jump on a call. And so we jumped on a call and we discussed the process. And he said, you don't really need to know exactly what it would be about. We have a whole structure and they're editors and, we have a whole journey for you. And this is what it would involve. And it's this kind of investment. And, it was a pretty big commitment in many levels. And so after that call, I was like, fear came back. You see, fear just came back like, what book am I going to write? This is huge. This is a huge investment on so many levels. What if it doesn't work out? The usual. And that's okay. I'm on the precipice. You see what I said? When we're on the precipice of something big, fear kicks up. Yeah. And because I was aware of that, I knew that's why fear was present. It was good data for me. Data. So I'm like, oh, this is good.
A signal, just a signal.
It's good signal. This means this is big.
Yeah.
This is going to stretch me. This is good. This is good, good, good. So it's very, very interesting to be able to switch my mindset when I saw the fear to go, yes, okay, now I understand why you're here because I'm on the cusp of something big, honey. This is good. So, but here's the good news. It took me 24 hours to make the decision. So I
Okay.
wrestled with it. I went back and forth, had all that nervous, excited energy within me. And then it came pretty quick and I just made it.
Yeah.
And then I jumped. And I think that's the one thing to say, that the first jump we take in life, that big leap of faith, at least from my experience, can feel like, whoa, scary, you know? But after that jump, it's like going to the gym. We've been building that muscle to leap.
Yeah.
So the next leap, it still feels, a little, well, but the feeling wasn't as strong, it didn't last as long, and the decision came much quicker. And that's because I had been practicing.
And you know you're going to get through it.
And that was a really nice realization, to know that the more that you trust yourself, the more you trust life, the more you move with it, the more you leap, the easier it gets. Not easy, but the easier it gets.
Yeah.
Because you're building that muscle for yourself. You're creating evidence that you can trust yourself. You can trust life. It doesn't mean that you're going to get exactly what you want the way you want it. No, but you'll be beautifully surprised at where you might land.
Beautifully surprised. Right on. Yeah. So, Pia, someone reads your book. What do you hope they come away with? What imprint is it going to make? What impact is it going to have on them?
I hope people come away with that piece of wisdom, that they have the creative agency and that they feel less alone in it, because I share vulnerable stories about how I lost and found my creative power in order to show what it was like for me. It's going to look different for everyone, and to know you're not alone in that. We go through those peaks and those valleys, but sometimes in the losing is how we find out who we really are and what our real capacity to create is.
Yeah, you're not alone. It's a club. It's the creative club.
Exactly. We're here together. We're creating together. You're not alone in it. And the world needs exactly what only you can create. Someone out there needs exactly what only you can create. So my hope is that there's a reclamation of their innate creativity. Like, hell yeah, I'm creative.
Yeah.
And then there's that little shot of courage, wherever it might come from, that they can trust themselves to take that jump and do that thing, whatever it might be, knowing that it's also to create an impact in the lives of others.
Yeah. I'm partway through it, but I would say what I'm getting from it is inspiration, like a nudge, encouragement. Yeah, you can do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That hand on your back, not pushing you, but just a felt sense of, we're here together and you got this.
That's the essence that I'm getting from it.
Oh, that's beautiful to hear. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Who should read your book?
It's a good question. People who are on the cusp of something. People who either hear a call, are ready for something, feel an itch.
Sticky juncture.
Sticky juncture time. Sticky juncture. And people who maybe feel a bit disconnected from their innate creative power, their innate creativity.
Okay.
And it's like a gentle rebellion and guide back to it, back to what was always yours in the first place. And that's why Welcome to the Creative Club is a bit tongue-in-cheek, because we're all members of the Creative Club. If you're human, you're you're an artist at play. You are.
Your membership card and your name badge have already been printed. You just need to stop by the registration table and pick it up.
Exactly. And that's free. What I want this book to do, is to be that registration. Like, just stop by and pick it up. That's what I want you to do. You already got it. I just need you to pick it up and then swipe it, use it, creatively direct it.
Yeah, once you pick that up, the refreshments are right over here, and there's some cool people over there that you'll be delighted to talk to.
High fives all around.
That's awesome. So listeners, if that describes you in any way, get the book. You'll love it.
Thanks
Pia,
so
as we wrap up this wisdom conversation, I want to just give you some open mic time to share a closing thought, maybe to share something, an insight or an idea that we didn't cover in the conversation, but encouragement maybe for our listeners of about 1,000 people who are focused on personal growth and getting better at life. What would you say to them?
I would say that I think the nature of creating or creation is not knowing what it will be until you start creating it. There's a Rumi quote I love, the path appears once you start walking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I've discovered, a little piece of wisdom I'd like to share is, whether it came to launching my business, when I went to launch Collective Studio, I didn't know exactly what it was going to be.
Okay.
When I started writing my book, I didn't know exactly what it was going to be. And if I waited to know, I'd be waiting a long time. I wouldn't have done those things.
Yeah.
So it's just a little reminder that it's okay not to know, because that's how you're going to find out, is by doing it. You just start walking, you just start creating, you just start experimenting, just start trying, and it will appear. And here's the real fun part of something else I've discovered. Often it doesn't look like what I thought it would. It takes a different shape, and I want to be open to that, because I believe that the universe has a much wilder imagination than mine. Sometimes I have an idea of what I think, like I would like it to be this way, and then I let it go.
Yeah.
And then I get curious about what might come my way, because I want to be able to recognize these opportunities or recognize the different forms it might take, because there's something bigger at play.
Yeah. That demystifies a lot. So thank you for that. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. This has been a blast.
Thank you so much, Skip. I appreciate you and your energy and this co-creation so much.
Have a great trip to Bali.
Thank you so much.
Long for now.
Thank you so long for now, Skip.
That goes by incredibly fast, doesn't it? Time flies when you're hacking wisdom. Thank you for listening to this wisdom conversation. If you enjoyed this podcast and found the wisdom lesson valuable, then I encourage you to share it with a loved one or friend. Did you know podcast recommendations from one person to another remain the strongest form of podcast growth worldwide? It's true, and we'd appreciate you helping spread the good word. Let's give a big hearty thank you to the crew of the Main Thing podcast. These are the folks who truly keep the wisdom pipeline flowing. Audio engineer Bob Hotchkiss, strategy advisor Andy Malinowski, public relations and partnerships guru Rachel Bell, social media and digital marketing expert Chloe Linneberg, graphic designer Emma Malinowski, and of course our patrons, those generous folks who provide monthly funding support to help underwrite our costs of production. I couldn't do it without you, nor would I want to. Your feedback matters a lot. If you have a question, a suggestion, maybe an idea, or even a nomination of a future show guest, I'd love to hear from you. Email me at info@themainthingpodcast.com. Well, that's a wrap for this show. I'm your host, Skip Linneberg, signing off for now and inviting you to join us again next time for another special delivery of wisdom.